Nuka-Cola. We all know it and we all love it. So today I am gonna tell you everything you need to know about the soft drink that really makes the Wasteland a little less wastelandly. We know that Nuka-Cola Quantum was released in the late 1970s, judging by its commercial, which aired during the 1980s. This is also backed up by a label found on one of the bottles in Fallout 3's water tower, which says enjoyed best when ice cold 1987. The game's official website also listed the pre-war date of the Nuka-Cola brand as being 1987, but this has since been removed. He was in charge of making the company a publicly traded enterprise and moving them to California. The deal gave Nuka World exclusive rights to the technology and enabled them to advertise on the cryocell machines. But with this sudden loss of customers, the company was forced to scale back production. They still followed the lead of most American companies and moved their manufacturing overseas, specifically to China, while still maintaining their headquarters in Vault 111. Nuka World continued to produce rations for the US military even after the start of the nuclear winter, and they remained in business until well after the formation of the Enclave. However, the fact that the machine is completely covered in graffiti would suggest that it hadn't been used in a long time, possibly since before the events of Fallout 3. There is also a bottle of unopened Nuka-Cola Quantum, the museum near the Citadel, which is powered by a small wine turbine and contains an automated dispenser. So it's possible that the pre-war formula required refrigeration after all. Before long, they shut down many of their facilities, including their main headquarters in San Francisco, which was converted into a vault. At this time, they opened Nuka World Park, which was designed to recapture the magic of the pre-war theme parks. Soon after, they introduced yet another flavor called Bear in 2295, as well as Nuka-Cola Starlight in 2297. It became very popular amongst the people of the East Coast until it was destroyed during the nuclear attack on Washington, D.C. This is also nothing more than a theory, but it is possible that Nuka Ultra was the name given to Nuka-Cola before they added the word quantum to it. First off, there's Nuka Dark, which was featured in the Fallout 3 trailer and is also mentioned in the game's official guide. Not much is known about it, but it is likely that it was either supposed to be a special variant of Nuka-Cola Quantum or simply an entirely new flavor altogether. Nuka World then rebuilt once again, although the park never reopened and they switched to producing only Sunset Sarsaparilla. It's orange in color and is essentially just a rebranded version of Nuka-Cola. Nuka World created a special batch of Nuka-Cola called Nuka Death, which was distributed to attendees of the Wasteland, a weekend event. It was green in color and had a grape taste. They also released another special batch called Nuka-Cola Rain, which was clear and had a lemon-lime flavor. Unfortunately, the formula was slightly off, resulting in a shorter shelf life, meaning that they now had to distribute the syrup frozen. We have Sunset Sarsaparilla, which was originally manufactured by Oasis. It's naturally caffeine-free and has a sweet, fruity taste. Unlike most Nuka-Cola variants, it does not spoil and is incredibly popular amongst children. This is the most widely available non-Nuka product and is sold in vending machines all over the Wasteland. I believe that it's a corruption of the word nuclear, which would explain why the logo is shaped like a mushroom cloud. If you think about it, Nuka is kind of nuclear, first off because of the obvious visual similarities, but also because it's radioactive. In Fallout 3, you can actually see radiation particles coming off of the bottle. Secondly, Nuka World is located in the nuclear zone, which is one of the 3 zones that make up the Commonwealth. Finally, the Nuka-Cola trophy in Fallout 4 is literally powered by a nuclear battery. All of this is pretty circumstantial, I admit, but it's something that I like to think about every time I drink Nuka. The following year, Nuka-Cola introduced new flavors, Cherry and Victory, and began construction on a new park out west. It's a cherry-flavored beverage with a blue tint, and also developed a new flavor of Nuka-Cola called Sunset Sarsaparilla, which was based on the pre-war recipe and formula, and was run by Harold, a ghoul who was also the only surviving member of the management team. Originally, it was intended to be a seasonal flavor, but it proved to be so popular that they decided to keep it around year-round. Despite the lack of refrigeration, he was still somehow able to produce Nuka-Cola Quantum using a formula stored in his head, as well as a stash of pre-war stock. They were able to do this thanks to a cache of old documents discovered in a forgotten filing cabinet. The fact that the formula was written on paper rather than being stored on a computer shows just how far back the recipe goes. Eventually, Harold was killed by raiders, but not before passing his knowledge on as someone else, allowing Nuka-Cola to continue production. Their new headquarters was set up in Vault 111, which was never meant to be a vault in the first place, but rather a highly secure research facility. But it's heavily implied that it involved cryocells, which were designed to keep beverages cold without electricity. Harold mentions something about having to wait until the quantum syrup arrived from China before he could make any batches, suggesting that the formula had changed and that the syrup was now being shipped overseas. However, when the overseers of Vault 111 discovered that their power supply wouldn't be able to support a large population for the long term, they decided to turn it into a vault instead, trapping the employees inside. Under his leadership, Nuka World began manufacturing other products such as frozen dinners, snacks, and candy, all under the slogan "Taste the Rainbow." So take from these details what you will. First off, let's talk about when it was made, because Nuka-Cola predates the bombs by quite a bit. It was mentioned in a few of the earlier games, most notably in Fallout 2, where you can find an advertisement for it in the saloon in Arcturus. The fact that it is out of stock tells us that it was discontinued before the events of Fallout 1, but there's no real telling when exactly that happened. Now, before Nuka World was ever built, there was another brand of soda called Sunshine, which was bottled by Oasis. Nuka-Cola itself was first produced by Nuka World Incorporated, which was founded by John and June Novak sometime in the mid-1900s. At first, the company focused on manufacturing root beer, but would eventually expand into other products. In 2066, they bought out their biggest rival, Oasis, and assumed control over the production of Sunset Sarsaparilla as well as their bottling plants. Shortly after, the company merged with Galaxy Beverages in 2077, expanding their reach to the rest of the galaxy. However, it's likely that John and June had already passed away by this point, as the CEO of Nuka World Incorporated at the time of the Great War was Aaron Blake Lively. At some point before the bombs fell, Nuka World also purchased CryoCell, a company responsible for building the freezers used to store Nuka-Cola syrup in various vending machines. By the time the bombs fell, Nuka World Incorporated had become one of the largest food and beverage companies in the world. While Nuka World was technically a private company and therefore not subject to government regulations like other businesses, in 2241, Nuka World's sole remaining bottling plant was located in Houston, Texas. We don't know exactly how or why Nuka-Cola was being produced without refrigeration. The lone cryocell machine in Fallout 3's water tower is filled with Nuka-Cola Quantum, which would suggest that this is how pre-war Nuka-Cola was kept cool. Following the end of the Second American Civil War, Nuka World began to rebuild their facilities and reincorporate as a non-profit organization. Nuka World Park opened its gates to the public on October 27, 2287, offering people a day out of the Wasteland with a variety of rides, shows, and attractions. After the Brotherhood of Steel began reclaiming pre-war technology, Nuka World finally got to work on bringing back their flagship product, using the original pre-war formula. It took for years to perfect the recipe, but by 2289, Nuka-Cola was once again available to the public. Nuka World Park West was opened to the public in 2290, complete with its own bottling plant. But before we go into the lore of the different flavors, let's talk about some of the alternate versions of Nuka-Cola. Next is Nuka Ultra, which is mentioned in Fallout New Vegas. Speaking of theories, I have one that I want to share with you guys regarding the name Nuka. Anyways, let's get back on track. Next up is Nuka-Cola Starlight, which was manufactured to celebrate the opening of Nuka World Park West. Then we have Nuka-Cola Victory, which was released in 2289 to commemorate the defeat of the Enclave. Before that, however, there was Nuka-Cola Bear, which is brown in color and has a vanilla cream taste. Back in 2277, and finally, that's all I've got for you today. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.